Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA players, legends, and the top instructors in the game share their insights and playing lessons. Join Chris every Tuesday night as he talks with the greats of the game. Tonight's show is sponsored by the French Lick Resort, the PGA Tour Superstore, the Bobby Jones Apparel Company, Ben Hogan Golf, 2 Under, TaylorMade Golf, and Golf Pride. Now, here's your host, Chris Mascaro.
Hey, good evening, folks, and thank you for joining me tonight here on Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and how you doing? If you're like me, I'm going through a little post-Masters depression. I always look forward to the tournament, and when it's over, it's a little sad. Now, because of this crazy year that we're in, the wait for the next Masters isn't all that long, but if this year has taught us anything, it's that 6 months can feel like 6 years. But hopefully a vaccine isn't too far away and we can all get our lives back to normal, and April will be here before we know it. Before we get started, though, I always like to remind you about one of our sponsors, the Macklemore, which is a wonderful community resort and golf course just 35 minutes outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee on Lookout Mountain. Now, they've just opened their new clubhouse, so go online and check out the clubhouse and the course at themacklemore.com. The course is co-designed by our good friends Bill Bergen and Reese Jones. Our friend and PGA Tour caddy Kip Henley has said, outside of Pebble Beach, it's the most beautiful 18th hole he's ever seen. See why he says that by checking out the course, the resort, and everything about the place online at themacklemore.com. All right, tonight my first guest is going to be 2011 U.S. Senior Open champion Olin Browne, and Olin's become a great friend of the show over the years. It's almost 4 years to the day since the first time he joined me, going back to December 17th of 2016. Now, tonight we're going to talk an awful lot about the Masters with all of my guests, so we'll talk about that, of course, with Olin. Also want to get his thoughts on what he saw over the weekend, his memories from playing in the tournament, what 2021 looks like for him and the PGA Tour Champions schedule, and getting his son, Olin Browne Jr., on the bag for him a couple of weeks ago. We'll hear what that was like. So really looking forward to having Olin back as part of the show. He'll join me in just a few minutes. Following him, I'm going to get a return visit from one of my favorite actors and the host of BackSpin Golf, Matthew Laurance. Not only am I going to get Matthew's thoughts on the Masters, I also want to talk about his hero, Seve Ballesteros, and look back at Seve's wins at Augusta National going back to 1980 and 83. We'll hear what's on Matthew's holiday wish list this year, plus a whole lot more. Really looking forward to having Matthew as part of the show. He'll join me about 25 minutes from now. Then we'll round out tonight's show with a return visit from 2013 Senior Open champion Mark Wiebe. I'm going to talk to Mark about his Masters memories. He got to play in the tournament a couple of times as well, just like Olin did. We'll also talk about a very unique thing that he was a part of at the 1989 U.S. Open at Oak Hill. Mark, Doug Weaver, Jerry Payton, Nick Price all made hole-in-ones on the par 3 6th hole in a 2-hour span. They've become known as the Four Aces. So we'll hear that story. Plus why, following his win at the 1986 Hardee's Classic, he decided to forego the next event on the PGA Tour to go back to his home state of Colorado and play in a local event there. Really looking forward to having Mark back. He'll join me about 45 minutes from now. So there you have it, folks. More great stories, tips, and information are coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with me tonight. You know, I always like to start off the show by saying hello to my good friends Mitch and Matthew Laurance. Now, Matthew's going to be a part of the show tonight. But let's talk about Mitch's show, and it is called Talking Golf Getaways. You can find it online at golftripx.com or over on Audio Boom, Stitcher, or Player.fm. He and his co-host Darren Bunch are going to let you know about great places to go stay and play around the U.S. and Canada, and also about some of the hidden gem courses that you might not be aware of. Folks, if you love golf and travel, their show marries those two things better than anyone's out there. They're fantastic hosts, and those guys are even better people. And like I say, Matthew's going to be a part of the show tonight. His show is called BackSpin Golf. As you guys know, it's my regular Sunday morning, 8:03 a.m. Eastern Tea Time, because Matthew and his guests are so fantastic. Now, you can stream the show by going online to WLXG.com or by downloading the WLXG app. Tune in, folks. I know you're going to love his show. And folks, this segment of Next on the Tee is brought to you by our friends over at TaylorMade and their TP5 and TP5X golf balls. Played by now Masters champion Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, and Jason Day. It is certainly the hottest tour ball in golf. Now, I know you know those names, but thousands of other golfers have already made the switch to TaylorMade TP5 and TP5X. It's also available in high visibility yellow. Are you the next to make the switch? Check it out online by going to TaylorMadeGolf.com for more information. All right, now back, and I'm honored to say this, making his 9th appearance with me here on Next on the Tee is Olin Browne. Let me remind you about Olin's background. He's from Washington, D.C., played his college golf out at Occidental College in L.A. He joined the golf team as a sophomore and gradually moved his way up to being their number one player. He was named a first-team All-Conference, that's All-SCIAC, in 1980 and 82. Was inducted into their Golf Hall of Fame in 1997, and now their Golf Annual MVP Award is named in his honor. He turned pro in 1984. He won 4 times out on the Korn Ferry Tour, twice in 1991, once in 93, and again in 96. He's won 3 times on the regular tour at the 1998 Greater Hartford Open by chipping in, oh, by the way, from 40 feet to defeat Stuart Sink in a playoff. He also won at the 1999 Colonial and the 2005 Deutsche Bank Championship. In 2005, he was named the PGA Tour Comeback Player of the Year. He's won twice so far out on the PGA Tour Champions, including the 2011 U.S. Senior Open and the 2015 Greater Gwinnett Championship here in Atlanta. In all, on the PGA Tour Champions, he has those 2 wins, plus 48 top 10s and 118 top 25s. And it's a thrill to have him back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Olin, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Chris. Great to be with you again. I can't believe this is 9 times. I'm going to have to start paying you royalty, I guess.
Indeed. I can't believe it's 9 times either. I appreciate the fact that you indulged me this many times. Thanks for being a part of the show. You're always one of my favorites.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be invited.
So let's start off. Obviously, we got to start with the Masters. Want to get your thoughts, first of all, on what you saw from Dustin Johnson. Obviously, a wonderful event for him, and now gets to add a second major to his resume. Got a little dicey on Sunday. Had a nice 4-stroke lead going in, and I was starting to get a little worried about him when he bogeyed 4 and 5 and then hit it in the bunker on 7, but regrouped really well and then obviously pulls away. Your thoughts on what you saw from him?
The station of greatness is when somebody makes something look easy. And to your point about things got a little bit tight, he started the day with a 4-shot lead, and it was pretty apparent that he was likely going to be the winner. But there in the middle of the front 9, he ran into a little bit of trouble and just never looked flustered in any way, and brought it right back, and then kind of never any such thing as coasting to victory. But I think the mark of greatness when a guy can make something look so. He just doesn't ever look like he's out of sorts, and he never looks like he's out of position. And he's got so much talent that you just knew that he was gonna. You felt that he was gonna pull it out in the end. And maybe the ultimate irony is one of the longest hitters, if not the longest guy on the PGA Tour, laid up on both par 5s on the back 9 Sunday and still buried in them both.
So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned greatness, right? And when you think of that, obviously we think of Tiger Woods now, and Hal Sutton tweeted this out, and I thought it was spot on. I think Tiger taught all of us something, particularly junior players, by what happened to him on 12. And the guy goes out and puts 3 balls in the water, makes a 10, and then comes right back, birdies 13, and then 5 out of his last 6 holes. To me, that says something, because I think a lot of us would have, at least I know I would have, gone straight in the tank after that, been frustrated, been mad, and just sort of mailed it in for the last several holes. And that guy doesn't. He comes back and plays that way. I want to get your thoughts on what you saw from Tiger after the 10.
So you're right. Greatness is a term that's bandied about. And, true greatness is identified is identifiable as historic in one way or another. And, Tiger continues to amaze. 43 years old, and he's just, to my mind, the ultimate competitor. He never, ever mails it in. I've never seen him do anything half-cooked on the golf course. And it really is a testament to how hard the game is and what it extracts out of individuals at the highest level of competition. That a guy like that, who is inarguably the greatest player of his generation and in the conversation is one of the two greatest of all time, and that's indisputable, just in terms of their record. The fact that this guy refuses to relinquish anything to the game, and he may not ride it out and be on top every single time, but he's not going to cheat anybody in terms of his effort.
Oh, and you mentioned, DJ is one of the longest hitters for sure. Another guy who's a long hitter, Bryson DeChambeau. The talk heading into the tournament was how Bryson was going to, kind of quote unquote break Augusta National. He's going to go in there and goodness knows what score he was going to shoot because he had nothing longer than a 7-iron, according to Sandy Lyle in a practice round that they played. Nothing longer than 7-iron into any hole out there. And then that certainly doesn't come to pass. Wanted to get your thoughts on Bryson and then what you saw from him this weekend as well.
Well, the truth is, to answer your second question first, we didn't get to see much of Bryson because he was never one of the protagonists of the week. He was the story going in. And what he's been doing, altering his body and trying to fully assault the distance metric on the PGA Tour, he has been the topic of conversation virtually every week, and he's demonstrated remarkable success this year. He turned what is one of the hardest golf courses in all of golf, Wingfoot, into a cakewalk for him. He won by 6 shots. Interesting that the last 2 Masters have been dominated so by the players who have won. But I think Bryson is injecting himself into the conversation. He's now a major champion, and he is really, he's called the shot. He said, when I leave, I'm coming back a lot different. And he proved it this year. He's had a heck of a year. Certainly, he is accelerating the conversation on the distance debate in golf and what kind of an impact that is having on the setup of golf courses and, the design of them. And you mentioned Bill Bergen and Macklemore before. I'm sure that as an architect, Bill would have plenty of interesting thoughts on as it pertains to guys who are carrying the ball 330, 340, 350 yards in some occasions, and what's that doing relative to the architectural integrity of golf.
Oh, and I want to go back to your time playing in the Masters. You had a few opportunities to play at Augusta National. What are some of your favorite memories from being a part of the tournament?
Well, I think obviously the first time that you ever get to go down Magnolia Lane, there are only a few things that you experience in life that exceed expectations. Marrying your wife, having a child, something that somebody sets a goal and accomplishes there. When you dream, I think Bubba Watson said it really, really well when he won the Masters, because I never dreamed this big, and I think when you get to experience something you've always wanted to, that it has a special place in your heart. And obviously, the first time you drive down Magnolia Lane, it's just an extraordinary day.
Oh, and I want to go back to this season for you out on the PGA Tour Champions. Had to be a kind of a surreal year. I mean, it's obviously been a crazy year for all of us. But getting back out there, no fans at the event, kind of living life in a bubble, being tested, if not every day, at least having your temperature taken every day, just kind of, it had to be strange. What was it like for you being out on the Champions Tour this year?
Well, I think like everybody else who went back and played, we were all willing to do whatever we had to do to maintain our health and our well-being and do whatever we could to contribute to the normal function of tournament play. And so, we had the testing on a weekly basis. We had to take a test before we got on the plane, Saturdays when we had consecutive events, and we lived in a bubble, and people didn't patronize restaurants. We didn't go to movies. We stayed kind of to ourselves and separated ourselves. Once we got inside the gates, we were, there were no fans, a handful of volunteers, fewer than ever before, and tournament staff and the whole thing. So, I mean, I think the PGA Tour Champions of Korn Ferry, they did a remarkable job getting us playing at all. I think golf is one of those kinds of games and an environment where, social distancing is achievable. We're outdoors by and large. That seems to have less of an impact on transmission and so forth. So, I think golf actually held itself to a pretty high standard, and we managed to get almost all the way there. So I'm looking forward to 2021, and our schedule is going to be released here shortly, and hopefully that we can get back to some semblance of normalcy. I think that, every day that goes by, there's more and more information on what this crazy disease or virus, how it can be managed and how we can better handle it. And hopefully we can get back to, like I said, some sense of normalcy and get back to life.
A couple of weeks ago at the Timber Tech Championship, you had the opportunity to have your son, Olin Browne Jr., on the bag. What was that like for you guys?
Well, he actually worked for me the last 3 weeks of the year. My caddy of 6 years, Sandy Armour, great guy, got an opportunity to go to work for Darren Clark, and it paid off for both of them. They happened to win Timber Tech, which was great. I mean, couldn't be happier for either one of those guys. Both of them great guys, hardworking, and Darren's going to have a long, very fruitful career on the PGA Tour Champions. But I had the great opportunity. My son, his tournament schedule was over for the year, and so he came out to work for me for a couple of weeks. And he's my firstborn, and he's just a great guy to be around and a lot of fun. And you know what? For anybody who has kids, they know exactly what it's like for a parent to be able to spend quality time like that with a child, son or daughter. And, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
When he looks ahead to 21, do you know what his plans are?
Yeah, he's going to be trying to qualify for Korn Ferry stuff and playing wherever he can play. He's on the outside looking in, but, he's working hard. We're out at Pebble Beach for the TaylorMade tournament. We've come out. We've been invited, both of us, to play out here, which is terrific. And we played practice round at Spanish Bay today in about a 35-mile-an-hour wind. So, we've got, this is our last event of the year, and so we'll wrap that up and head back, have Thanksgiving with everybody, and kind of gear down for the holiday season and get ready for next year.
Is there a downtime for you now? I mean, when this event is over, is it sort of rest and recovery for your body, or you hit in the gym and just keep hitting golf balls until they tell you here's where the next tournament's going to be, whether that's in January or whenever?
Yeah, we'll slow down a little bit, let the little aches and pains try and let those go away for a couple of weeks, and figure out when we start up next year. The gym thing is a drive-by for me. I kind of look out the passenger side of the car when I see the gym try and keep moving. I'm not a huge fan of that whole thing, and it's to my detriment. But I also, I'm not causing myself any unnecessary aches and pains either. But I like the casual nature of a long walk spoiled, Mark Twain called it, as it pertains to golf. And we'll just take it easy and rest up and get cleared up mentally, refreshed, and ready to go when the season starts up.
Well, when you're 61 years young, seeing a guy like Bernhard Langer at 63, not only still winning out on the Champions Tour, but making the cut at the Masters this past weekend, oh, by the way. And then, guys like Tom Kite at age 70 still out there at it. Hale Irwin making appearances at 75 out on the Champions Tour. He's still playing. Is that inspirational for you to not only say, you know what, I can still compete out here, but look at these guys. I can still probably win out here.
Well, greatest Champions Tour players in our history. You got Hale Irwin, who's won 45 events, and is in the Hall of Fame, and you got Bernhard Langer, who's trying to chase him down, and is the most thoroughly detailed person I've ever been around. He's ultra fit, he's ultra competitive, He loves the idea of getting his game ready to return to Augusta National, and he acquitted himself nicely. And to no one's surprise, he made the cut and finished. He finished strongly. You know, for a guy who's 63 years old on that golf course, which was absolutely soaking wet, played extra long. For him to perform at that level, I'm sure gives all of us aged guys a little bit of hope and optimism looking forward. But I cannot speak to the greatness of both of those guys enough. They're both incredible competitors. They are really enjoyable people to be around, and their records are just extraordinary.
Oh, and a few weeks ago, you retweeted a story from the PGA of America about Tim Rosefort being named an honorary member of the PGA. And Tim is the bar, as far as I'm concerned, about reporting, particularly with respect to the game of golf. He's as good as it gets. And for those folks who don't know, Tim retired due to early onset of Alzheimer's. Talk about your relationship with Tim over the years.
Well, like anybody who's played golf at any level, professional level, I've known Tim for a long while. Tim is one of those guys, as you say, he's the benchmark for golf. He was the hardest working guy in the business. He was a guy who would ask a question and then give the exact representation of what was said, without any equivocation, whether or not he agreed with the answer, or he never had an agenda, never brought an agenda to the conversation. I think Tim Rosefort had the utmost respect from everybody. And he wasn't just a guy who reported on golf. He loved golf. I mean, we used to play at the club quite often. We'd go out and play 9 holes when he had time, and he was working so hard that he very rarely was able to get out, get away, come up and hit the balls or whatever. But, you know, he was just as inquisitive about how to play the game as he was about reporting what was happening in the game. And, you know, what he's going through as a young man, I mean, he's in his mid-60s. That's awfully young to be struggling with this kind of problem. You know, should give us all a little bit of pause. And I know that I speak for all of my peers out on the PGA Tour Champions and everybody who has met Tim along the way, that we all wish him nothing but the best and hope that, you know, this thing is more and more manageable as days go by, even though, you know, these kinds of things tend to cause, you know, a lot of internal strife, consternation, and so forth. It's just a sad thing, you know. I mean, here's a guy who used his mind his entire career. I mean, really used his mind. I mean, he was a beautiful writer, and he had a great approach to things. He developed great relationships with all the people, tip to toe and everywhere around. And testimony to that is the PGA of America extended him honorary membership. It's a terrific honor and well deserved. And you know, everybody loved him, and we all wish him the very best.
Amen to that. Olin, just a couple more before I let you go. And as I was looking back over your career, I looked at 2015 when you went back to Inverness for the first time since your U.S. Senior Open Championship victory there in 2011. And you did a clinic for the First Tee of Erie. Talk about your involvement with the First Tee, and then I saw you hold out for Eagle to win the exhibition match that got played that day there.
It was really good to be invited back. Alan Fidel put that together, and I went back, and I met some of the young kids involved with the First Tee. Among them was a young man named Will Grimmer, who was about to attend Ohio State, and he graduated, and he's turned professional, and I run into him every now and then when I'm out on Corn Ferry with my son Olin, or I just see him in passing. And so it's great. It's great to be asked. It's great that anybody cares enough about what you did that you think you can make an impact on someone else. And so to be invited to participate in anything like that, it's such a tremendous honor, and I always look forward to those opportunities. And I love seeing what these young kids are doing in golf. I mean, it's just extraordinary. The talent and the depth of the talent is so remarkable. I mean, there's such better information. We live in the information age. It doesn't just apply to news or research. It applies to sport and, you know, fitness and everything else. So the young players are so much better prepared and so much younger. That they're really they're committing an assault on the game. Whereas guys would have to go through junior golf and then college golf, and then they trundle around Asia or European Tour before they get to the PGA Tour. Then they spend a few years getting their legs under them. Everybody said their career started when they were 30, in their mid-30s was their prime. Well, these kids are coming out when they're 20 years old and they're ready to rock and roll, and they're doing it. And it's pretty impressive stuff.
Well, and I want to get a playing lesson or some advice from you. I saw a video where you talked about how in order to improve your game, you should start at the hole and work your way backwards. And I think a lot of us amateurs, we're the opposite direction. We think chicks dig the long ball, so we're out there, hammering drivers on the driving range, thinking that's where we're going to save ourselves strokes when it's probably the opposite way. Talk about why we should start at the hole and work our way backwards.
Well, I mean, chicks do dig the long ball, but bottom line is that the score is what really counts in this game, and you don't get to shoot a score until you hole out. So, or post the score until you hole out. So, I'm old school in that regard. I know there are a lot of people who have written about it, Mark Brody and John Fawcett, people like that, who have their analytics going and their statistics. But the bottom line is you still have to get the ball in the jar. Now, how you do that is kind of individual, and it varies player to player. You see people who are remarkable ball strikers who have had great success. You see people with a remarkable short game who have great success. And I would counsel any player. First of all, it's less wear and tear to work on your putting and your chipping than it is on your full golf swing. Find out what his strength is or her strength and work on that. But then identify weaknesses. If you have a weakness, turn those weaknesses into a strength. I mean, the players who are really great, and Dustin Johnson, bringing this conversation full circle, is the perfect example of that. He showed up and he was able to bomb it, always was able to bomb it. And what really made him the greatest player on tour right now, a two-time major champion and the number one ranked player in the world, is his dedication to his short game and his wedge play. And now Dustin Johnson and proof is in the pudding. On 13, he had to lay up and he wedged it close and made the putt. And on 15, he had to lay up and he wedged it close and made the putt. The last week in Augusta. So here's a guy who doesn't have any weaknesses in his game. His arsenal is tip to toe. He drives it long and straight. He's a brilliant iron player. He has great distance control with his short clubs, and his short game has really improved. His putting is remarkable. So I don't see Dustin Johnson going away anytime soon. And you see guys rise and fall to number one. You've seen lots of guys get to number one and then back off number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You haven't seen a lot of those guys get to number one, fall back, get back to number one, fall back, get back to number one. DJ may be the only guy who's done it for us with any consistency. So here's a guy in his mid-30s who has every tag in his set in a long while. Is maintained, and as long as everything is tidy in his life, I think he'll be a force for a long while.
Olin, what happened to my favorite online DJ? At Olin Browne on Twitter. Every day I used to go out there look to find out what the song of the day was. You sort of disappeared on me.
I did. I did it for about 3 years, Chris. And the truth is, I started repeating songs so often, I got kind of tired of it. Now, to your point, I've had a number of people start asking me that question. People who come out and watch and go, "Hey, when are we going to get song of the day again?" And what kind of things that maybe it comes back. And I'd certainly look to do it, but there were some mornings where I'd spend 20 minutes trying to find an appropriate song, and I really got tired of it. But I'm getting, like you say, getting more and more requests, and you never know, might pop back into gear here.
Oh, and before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with all the great things you're doing and follow you online and on social media.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Olin Browne, and that's pretty much all the social media I do. I don't do Facebook, and I got an Instagram page, but I'm never on it. But follow us all on PGA Tour Champions. We've got a great group of guys out there, and it's really good golf. And the guys out there are really approachable too. You reach out on Twitter and you want to talk to one of us, you get a response, good, bad, or indifferent. You may not like what you hear, but you may as well. So just follow golf, support the game. Let's all get out and play. Greatest game I've ever played. greatest game I've ever been associated with. I had the chance to interact with guys like you. I mean, how much better can golf be? It's just a terrific, terrific place.
Agreed. Olin, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. I'm already looking to visit number 10. Hopefully that's very soon. In between now and then, stay safe, my friend.
And you as well. Give the Wiebes when he comes on. And first thing you should say to him is, hey, man. He'll know what it means.
All right. I'll do that. Take care, Olin. Happy holidays to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Right back at you. Be well.
See you, Olin. That's the great Olin Browne. And folks, he's a great follow on Twitter at Olin Browne. And if you're not sure, the spelling of his last name has an E on the end, so Browne. But Olin Browne is as you can tell, again, 9 times on the show, a great human being, a great player, and a great steward of the game. So when you get all of those things wrapped together, you're going to have a special segment. And just like tonight, the 8 previous ones were just as wonderful as the one that we just had. So looking forward to catching up with Olin really soon. And like I say, give him a follow on Twitter. Hopefully we get that song of the day back. He was fantastic. That's one of the first things I would do every morning is go on Twitter and look up his account to see what the song of the day was going to be for that day. All right, before I get to my next guest, Matthew Laurance, I want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, starting with our friends over at the Ben Hogan Golf Company. At Ben Hogan Golf, they manufacture some of the finest golf equipment in the world in their small factory in Fort Worth, Texas. That's because they build each club by hand using the same process Mr. Hogan created when he started his company 65 years ago. They call it micro-manufacturing, so no mass production, no shortcuts. Visit them online at benhogangolf.com to learn more about their tour quality products and factory direct prices. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Golf Pride. In golf, light grip pressure releases power. Golf Pride engineered a secret the pros know. A larger lower hand encourages lighter pressure. Plus 4 technology is designed with 4 additional layers, which reduces tension in the lower hand to generate more power. Play Plus 4 and release the secret the pros know. Now available on Tour Velvet, the winningest grip on tour. Grip confidence, grip golf pride. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by our friends at the PGA Tour Superstore.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. Now back to Chris and more of the show.
All right, now back with me here on Next on the Tee is one of my all-time favorite actors, radio hosts, and people on the planet for that matter, and that's Matthew Laurance. You guys hear me talking about Matthew's show BackSpin Golf every week at the top of the show because it's fantastic and it's the best way to start your Sunday mornings. You can stream it online by going to WLXG.com or on the WLXG app. Earlier this year, Matthew was recognized by the PGA of America's Kentucky section as their media representative of the year for his great contributions to the game. Among Matthew's great work on screen are his stellar performance as bass player Sal Amato in one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, Eddie and the Cruisers. You've probably also seen him on Saturday Night Live. He was a part of the 6th season there. He was also on Beverly Hills 90210, One Tree Hill, 30-something. The list of shows goes on and on. Matthew was also a sideline reporter for Duke and Kentucky basketball. He's just a tremendous talent, and I'm very excited he's back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Good evening, Matthew. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Chris. Keep going. Just keep listing things that I've done. Keep going. This is good. I'm at a point in my life where I need validation, so I don't get it that often. So I'm doing well.
Well, look.
And as always, it's great to talk to you.
Hey, look, I got you sandwiched between 2 major champions in Olin Browne and Mark Wiebe. I mean, you know,
as I always say, whenever I am lucky enough to be on Next on the Tee, I look at the lineup of the shows that I've done. I'm like, what am I doing here? What? Well, what? I mean, so tonight is no exception. I just listened to a good part of Olin's talk with you, and he's fantastic. What a great guy, and yeah, 2 major champions. But part of me realizes that that's where I belong. I belong surrounded by champions like that.
Indeed, you do.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to jump in and talk Masters, and I want to start sort of with the pre-Masters hype, because going in, and I know you don't like to mention his name, you like to refer to him only as Bryceps or the Hulk, but DeChambeau was going to go into Augusta National. He was going to destroy the course. He was going to shoot some crazy low score. He was hitting nothing more than 7-iron into any of the holes. And then obviously none of that worked out, and he finished tied for 34th. That had to make you smile.
It's really interesting because I kind of half kid around about this, and I'm on, as well as Backspin Golf, I do a daily drive time show on ESPN here in Lexington, Kentucky. And leading up to the Masters, and even before that, I want to make it clear how much I admire what he has done. The respect that I think everybody should have for him in not only adding the weight and doing all that, the work that he's done to get to the point where he is now is staggering, and nobody else has been willing to do it. I acknowledge all that. And the thing I actually do like about him is that he doesn't care what anybody thinks. He's doing this for himself, and that's something that we all can learn from. If it should be about him. It shouldn't be about, well, he looks funny or his putting grip is horrible, or he doesn't care. And for the most part, what he's done, as we saw at Wingfoot, is pretty remarkable. Now, having said that, I don't like him. And most of my opinions about sports figures and ats, and we all have them, they're very kind of personal things. So I'll tell you what the capper was before the Masters. When he said he considered Augusta to be a par 67 for him, I lost my mind, basically. And so that whole 4 days of all the things that happened to him, and I thought the lost ball was a really bad break, but I thought it was pretty ridiculous. I know it's the rules of golf, but I thought he got hosed on that. They found that ball right after they stopped looking. But all the other things that happened to him, I enjoyed, because I thought, Chris, we all talk about, especially during these times with a lot of things going on, don't say the quiet part out loud is a popular phrase now. Well, there was no reason for him to come out and say, I think it's a par 67 for me. None. And so when he goes out and does what he does, I'll tell you what my favorite part of the entire Masters was, other than DJ winning, which I thought was great, was that Bernhard Langer, 63-year-old Bernhard Langer, who averaged 250 off the tee, finished at 3 under par. And Mr. Par 67 finished at 2 under par. I thought that was the greatest statement about golf of the whole time, maybe of the whole year, and also what Larry Mize did. So the whole Masters experience for me, I forget, what was the question? I'm just rambling. I'm rambling. Yes, that's about Bryson. Okay, would you like me to continue with the Masters?
Please.
Would you like me?
Just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you just keep going.
You can just relax.
I'm just sitting here.
I'll take over here. Okay. All right, good. Here's the other thing, one of the many things I loved about the Masters. And I've been saying this ever since we came back to playing when the pandemic started. I love watching golf, any tournament, without the fans. I understand that we need the fans. in golf. I get all that. I'm talking about just for me, the experience of watching these tournaments on TV with no fans has been glorious because we see the entire golf course, which we never do. And that was 100 times more important to me watching the 4 days at Augusta. Now, having said that, I also pray every day that by April, when we have the next Masters, we have thousands of fans there and that we are all back to where we want to be. But for these 4 days, and being blessed enough to have been at Augusta a couple of years ago, it's the only time I've been there, but to see that golf course the way you or I, if we were ever lucky enough to play that golf course, the way we would see it without stands, without thousands of people on the course, was the greatest. All the areas around the greens where balls were rolling 30 feet away from the putting surface, that never happens because there's patrons sitting around the greens. All of those things, for me, made it just, you miss the roars when things happen. But other than that, I thought the TV experience of watching it with no fans, one of the best things about golf this year.
See, that's interesting that you went that direction. When you started talking about enjoying it without the fans, and I'm with you, being able to see all of the grounds and all of that sort of thing, I thought was fantastic as well. But I thought you were going to go more towards, not liking hearing, the guy yelling. We don't hear this at Augusta National because the less court, you're right off the golf course. But for other tournaments, the guy yelling mashed potatoes or get in the hole or all of those sorts of things. Now, that I've enjoyed, not having that.
Well, me too. And I'll tell you, the week before in the Houston tournament, where there was the first tournament, they had not that many fans. It just goes to show you what knuckleheads these people are. I mean, they had one guy. There may be 20 people around the tee box, and there was one guy who screamed. I don't even know. It made me miss mashed potatoes. I don't even know what he was yelling. I mean, and as soon as it happened, I went, see, this is what, keep fans off the golf cart. Just keep them up. The only place they should be allowed is on the 16th hole in Phoenix. That's the only place they should be allowed all year. Fans is at that par 3 where they can scream and yell and do whatever they want. But yeah,
Matthew, I know what a huge fan of Tiger Woods you are, and it certainly wasn't his week, and I don't think the conditions and playing the number of holes on Saturday that he had to play were really conducive to him playing well. But I want to get your thought, and I talked to Olin Browne about this in the last segment. To his credit, he took a 10 on number 12 on Sunday. And I think a lot of us, probably you and me for sure, would have thrown it in at that point. We'd have gotten so mad, it would just have been a throwaway the last guy. Who knows what we would have shot over the last several holes. But not him, right? Comes back and he birdies 13. He birdies 5 of his last 6 holes. To me, that speaks volumes about his greatness and was a heck of a lesson to us and to junior golfers that were watching how he recovered from that and then played that well coming in. Kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, you basically just said it. When he finished, within 30 seconds, I put that on Twitter. That this is why, to me, in my opinion, he's the greatest of all time, was exactly what happened there. Now, he's never made a 10 in a major championship before, but that experience of watching him, and look, all I wanted him to do going into the week was A, make the cut, first of all, and then B, I don't even want to say competitive. I didn't expect him to be among the leaders on Sunday. I really didn't. I just wanted him to play well. And I think whatever he would say, he always goes into a tournament thinking to win it. That's it, period. He doesn't care about finishing second. So when he took that 10, he knew by that time anyway, he knew he wasn't going to win the golf tournament. But for him to birdie 5 of the last 6 holes on that golf, we saw what it did to other people on that day. For him to do that is the reason I think he's the greatest that ever played the game. With apologies or not apologies to Jack. And that's a whole other discussion for me. But it was astounding. Actually, when he tapped in to finish on 18, I actually had tears in my eyes with what I had just witnessed. That's how much, and I agree 1,000% with you, especially with junior golfers and golf coaches. And because they will show that and talk about that for years to come. And, you know, his impact in the game, just when you think maybe it's waned, he comes up with something like that. And they'll use that as a teaching point and a lesson, a life lesson for junior golfers for years to come. It was fantastic.
So let's talk about the guy that won the tournament and Dustin Johnson. Now, you talk about a guy, you go back to the beginning of August. You know, finished tied for 12th at the WGC event in Memphis, tied for second at the PGA, blew away the field at the Northern Trust, finished second at the BMW Championship, obviously won the FedEx Cup at the Tour Championship, and then tied for 6th at the U.S. Open, tied for second at the Houston Open, and then wins the Masters. That's a heck of a run. It seems like this is a guy that's going to be poised to be either number one or right at it, right around it, I should say, for a long time. Your thoughts on sort of the run that we've seen Dustin Johnson do the second half of the year?
Yeah, but wait a minute, Chris. Come on. I mean, he only won twice or three, whatever it was. Come on. He wasn't that great. Seriously. I mean, you know, you're acting like the guy won every week. Stop. You know what gets me about that whole experience? He played really well the week before. And he also had to deal with taking some time off because of COVID, all of that stuff. He was playing really well. He shot 30 under not too long before the Masters. And it was like, this is another thing about Bryson that got me. I loved how annoyed all the other guys got when in the press tent when they were all questioned. You know, what do you think about like, I loved Brooks Koepka's face when they asked him that question. I mean, and it was the same thing with DJ. I mean, even though he was the betting favorite, it was almost like people, and then one of the things I'm happiest about him winning that tournament is they even did it on their coverage over and over again. How many times, and the coverage of golf tournaments is, I could do 5 shows on that, but how many times did they bring up that he had 4 times had lost 54-hole leads in major championships? Over and over and over and over again. And everybody started thinking when that lead was cut to 2, everybody started going, here we go. Here we go. All he needs is one bad shot, and here we go. So I love how he finished on Sunday. It's a testament to how hard he's worked on his game. He's gone through rough patches in his career, like Tiger almost, personally, professionally. The talent obviously is immense. To see where he's come, kind of startling. And for anybody to be able to drive the ball the way he does, to have worked on his short game, I heard Olin talk about it, and his putting to the point where he could do what he did at Augusta is really pretty amazing. And if he can stay injury-free, if he doesn't get hurt in any way, I mean, he's going to be here for a long time. They can talk all about Bryson and all the young guys, but he could have runs like this where he's top 3 and winning almost every week if he stays injury-free. And, you know, we're living in a pretty great time in terms of golf, Chris. I don't know if you know this, but we're living.
I've heard that.
We're living in a pretty great time with people like DJ and the young guys. I mean, all of them. The game's in pretty good hands I think, for a long time coming.
And as the FedEx Cup champion, and he's got the FedEx Cup lead. I know how much you like this. With 9 months to go in the FedEx Cup, he's got the lead.
Yeah. You and he's not giving it up. You more than anybody know the most exciting thing to me when every new year starts is after the first 6 holes, they'll put up who's leading in the FedEx Cup race, which is 10 months away for the Tour Championship. I love that. So I'm very happy. You forget winning the green jacket. He's now in the FedEx Cup lead. That's the important thing.
That's right.
You're right. Yeah.
Matthew, just a couple more before I let you go, and I know what a huge Seve Ballesteros fan you are, but were you into golf and were you into Seve back when he won his green jackets in 80 and 83?
It's a great question. I wasn't. I actually only started playing. I had just started playing golf. I had just moved to Los Angeles. I've said this before on your show. When I lived in New York and growing up, we used to beat guys up that played golf. I mean, kick golf. What are you kidding me? From when we were from New York. And then I moved to LA in 1981, 82 and started playing because my brother Mitchie, my twin brother, was living there and had started playing. So I was aware because I was a huge sports fan. So I was always aware of Seve. He was a rock star to me, even back then, even though I had just started playing golf. And my admiration and my love for him just continued to grow. The very first email address I ever got, which is still my email, which I won't give out, but contains the word Seve in it. That's how long. And so it was in the 80s. I don't remember how long because I'm very old and my memory is gone now. But and the great thing, this is, Twitter brought us together. So many of the most important people in my life now are people that I've never actually met that through Twitter and through golf, we've come together. But I always tweet stuff about Seve, pictures or videos or different things. And both his sons, Javier and Miguel, tweet back at me and retweet my stuff. And it's amazing. It actually brings a tear to my eye that Seve's sons are sitting with their phones in Spain, and I'll tweet how much I love Seve, and they'll like my tweet, knowing that it's his sons that are seeing my love for their dad. I actually showed my 14-year-old son videos of Seve the other day. I was watching the Masters, and they put something up about Seve, and I said to Lee, I want to show you something. I want you to see the coolest guy ever. And he laughed. And I showed him a couple of videos of Seve, and he was fascinated by him. So there's just, to me, there's never been anybody like him in the game of golf, in many ways. But he's always been a big part of why I love the game of golf.
Matthew, I know you're an award-winning member now of the Kentucky section of the PGA of America, and a fantastic golfer who really has no weaknesses.
Chris, yeah, right. That's true. Hold it. I'm sorry, I lost my phone went out for a second. Could you repeat what you just said? Sorry, I'm having trouble with my phone. I didn't hear. What was that? Something? PGA
something about an award-winning member of the Kentucky section of the PGA of America. I've seen pictures.
Yes.
So I know it has to be real.
Photoshop.
So
yeah, but go ahead.
So being the fantastic golfer that we know you are, and a guy who really doesn't have any weaknesses in his game, if you're going to be working on something this winter, what might it be?
It will be my chipping. That's what it will be. And luckily here in Lexington, we have the finest practice facility that I've ever seen. It's called Man of War Golf. And They have heated bays and just incredible putting greens, and it's the best place to practice I've ever seen. And it's not too far from my house, so I have made actually a vow to myself this winter. If it's not snowing and it's above 35, I'm going to take time each week to work mostly on my short game. I mean, I'll hit some balls, I'll hit some drivers, but I need to work on my chipping because, as I always say to my brother, I'll go out and look, I'm old, okay? I'm an old guy, but I still, when I play, if I'm hitting it fairly well, I shot 80 the other day at a pretty tough golf course. I mean, it's pretty good. And I'll call my brother and I'll say, hey, Mitchie, I shot 82 today. And if I had 5 chips, I could have shot. And he stops me right away and he says, well, really? Well, how many balls did you take an hour and chip out at Man Award this week? No. Then shut up. He always says it to me. And he's right. So I'm really going to concentrate on that this winter. And people, Perry French, who's my partner on my show on BackSpin Golf, we always talk about this. And actually, here's a tip for those listening, real quick. On BackSpin Golf, I had a fantastic guy named Eric Cagorno, and people listening should go to YouTube and type in Eric Cagorno, Cogorno, golf, and look at his videos. He's fantastic. But he said something really interesting to me. He said, when you go to the range to practice, here's how you do it. The only way you do it. First you putt, and then you chip, and then you go hit balls. Because if you go hit balls first, which most people do, you're not going to make it to the chipping area and the putting green. And I thought about it, and I thought, he's right. I mean, I might putt a little for a few minutes or whatever, but I thought it was a great piece of advice. And Perry always talks about short game, always. And if we want to get better, I mean, let's face it. I think I read one time it takes 21,000 swings to change your muscle memory. I don't have that many swings left in my body. So if I want to improve, if I want to get better, the only way to do it is your short game. We all know if you improve your chipping and your putting, it isn't that hard to take 4 strokes off your score every round. Well, that's a big deal. I mean, it's a difference between shooting 87 and 83, which is it's a big difference. So I'm going to work on the short answer is I'm going to work on my chipping this winter.
Matthew, remind our listeners about how they can listen to your shows, plus follow you on social media as well.
My Twitter account is @RealLauro, Lauro, and the number 5. BackSpin Golf, as Chris always says, and we're eternally grateful for your support. Everybody that knows you and is connected to you in any way is that grateful. It's BackSpin Golf. It's on every Sunday morning. Go to WLXG.com and hit listen live, or on the WLXG app. And those are the best ways to find me.
Well, Matthew, you're the best, my friend. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy night to come and be a part of the show. It's always a thrill, and it's always a lot of fun when you come and join me here.
Always, and you know how I feel about you. I love you, Chris. You're a great, great man. Thanks for having me.
No, I love you, brother. Take care. Stay safe out there. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
You too.
See you, Matthew.
See you.
The great Matthew Laurance at RealLauro5 is his Twitter account, and a finer individual you will not find anywhere. He's become a wonderful friend on and off the show. And like you said, we got to tweeting back and forth years ago, and we've never met in person. But he's a very important person in my life, and a great friend, and somebody that has taught me an awful lot. So I feel very, very fortunate to have met both Mitch and Matthew Laurance, at least virtually, and be able to count them among my friends. They're two very, very special people, and I can't thank them enough. All right, before I get to my next guest, Mark Wiebe, I want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, starting with our friends over at Finn Cycles. It's time to rethink golf. The game is at a tipping point. The young people we need in the game don't have 4.5 hours to spend out on the course. Pairing Finn Cycles with a desire to play ready golf can cut playing time in half because all golfers go directly to their own golf ball. Plus, it's tons of fun. Go online to finscooters.com and click on Find a Fin for a course that has them near you. I also want to give another shout out to our friends over at the Macklemore. The Macklemore Mountaintop community rests atop the highlands of Lookout Mountain, Georgia, overlooking historic Macklemore Cove and Pigeon Mountain. Surrounded on all sides by state and national parks, historic land districts, and private land trusts. The resort features an 18-hole Reese Jones and Bill Bergen championship course, a gated residential community, and a planned clubhouse opening in the fall of 2020, plus planned hotel and conference center. The dramatic 18-hole course is made up of a variety of golf experiences, combining canyon holes, highland holes, cliff edge holes that are well suited for the beginning golfer as well as the senior player. Macklemore also offers a wonderful 6-hole short course called the Cairn. Designed by Bill Bergen, the Cairn provides players with a short warm-up or cool-down before or after a round, or a relaxing way to improve one's game with family and friends. Macklemore is located a short driving distance from Atlanta, Nashville, Knoxville, Birmingham, and Huntsville, and just 35 minutes from downtown Chattanooga, voted #1 best town in America 2 years in a row by Outside Magazine. While a private course, Macklemore offers stay-and-play packages for guests in club-managed properties, as well as a number of membership opportunities, including social memberships, non-resident memberships, and corporate memberships as well. For more information, please visit Macklemore online at themacklemore.com or give them a call at 800-329-8154. All right, now back in making his 9th appearance with me is 2013 Senior Open champion and one of the top instructors in the game now, Mark Wiebe. Let me remind you about Mark's background. He's from Seaside, Oregon, and grew up in Escondido, California. Played his college golf at Palomar Junior College and then transferred to San Jose State. While at Palomar, he was the individual medalist at the 1977 California Amateur, and he won the Idaho Amateur that year as well. He was named second-team All-American in 1979 at San Jose State. That season, he and Don Levin teamed together to win the Silverado Invitational in Napa, California. He turned pro in 1980 and started on the PGA Tour in 1983. Got his first career win at the 1985 Anheuser-Busch Classic when he beat John Mahaffey with a birdie on the first playoff hole. He won again the following year at the Hardee's Golf Classic by one shot over Kurt Byram, thanks to a birdie on the 17th hole during the final round. Mark matched Bobby Watkins' record for being the youngest winner on the Champions Tour at 50 years and 10 days old when he won the 2007 SAS Championship. In 2013, he won the Senior Open Championship at Royal Birkdale, defeating Bernhard Langer on the 5th playoff hole after a final round 66. He doubled down a few weeks later, winning the Pacific Links Hawaii Championship and a playoff over Corey Pavin. In all, he won 8 times as a professional, twice on the PGA Tour, 5 times on the Champions Tour, plus the 1986 Colorado Open. He was inducted into the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame in 2011. You can now find him out in Scottsdale, Arizona. So, folks, if you're looking to take your game to the next level and you're anywhere near Scottsdale, reach out to Mark on his website, markwiebegolf.com. And I'm thrilled he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Mark, how are you, my friend?
Chris, I just have to say, 9th time?
Yes.
Wow, I feel like one of those guys on Saturday Night Live that has hosted so many times. I feel like I should be in a club or something.
Indeed. I can't believe it. Hey, look, I'm as honored as I could possibly be to be able to say you've been on the show 8 previous times, and I get to have you for a 9th. So you're outstanding, my friend. Thank you for all your support over the years.
Oh, you're way too nice. I appreciate being on, and always a good time talking to you.
So, Mark, I got to congratulate you for your son, Gunnar. gets a big win at the Assistant PGA Professional Championship over the weekend. You got to be a proud dad.
I am super proud. Way exciting. It's a long story, probably too long for the show, but Gunnar kind of said, "Okay, Dad, I need you to come and you can't gallery and you can't be out there during the tournament, but we can go down early, and I need some help with my game." So we had a great trip out. Got there on a Sunday night, and I left on Tuesday night to come home. But we just kind of focused on his game and what it was going to take for him to, have a successful tournament. And lo and behold, he had a very successful tournament. So it was really fun for me, obviously as his dad, but also as his coach, and he's my coach, and we have a great relationship outside of the father-son. So it was really a great time for me to be involved in a little way, on just kind of steering them in the right direction. And we talked just great. We just had a great time together, although it's always short when you're with your kids, especially during the COVID time. But we had a great time together and talked about, like I said, what it was going to take to, vie in this tournament and have a chance to win it. And like I said, wow, it was so cool to see that all happen and see him stand up and hopefully he learned everything, and I learned always. I always learn, but just to watch him reach his goal, his ultimate goal for the week, was fantastic. And like I said, to be just a small part of that was even made it more special for me.
Oh, good for you. Mark, I got to have you answer something for me. I had Olin Browne on the first segment tonight, and as we were parting ways at the end of our conversation, he said, "Hey, say hi to Wiebe for me," and just start out the conversation by saying, "Hey, man," he'll know what it means.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Olin and I and Steve Pate, you have to be a golfer to know these names, but Olin and I and Steve Pate, for whatever reason, each time we saw each other, it was always, "Hey, man, how's it going? Hey, man, hey, man." So we called it kind of unofficially the Hey Man Club. And we've been saying that together for I don't know how many years now. We're getting older. But this dates back to the tour life, not just the senior tour. But we've just been kind of buddies for that long. That's what golf does for you. It's such a great game in that way that you create these friendships. I heard you say that you haven't met someone on your earlier segment, but you've texted back and forth and you're dear friends. Isn't that something? That golf can do that. So, yeah. Steve Pate, Olin Browne, and myself were the three amigos to the Hey Man Club. And, Olin's a dear friend of mine and will be forever, and so is Steve Pate. So I'm honored to be with them in the Hey Man Club that nobody even knows about.
Let's talk about another exclusive club. As I was doing some more research on you, back in 1989 at the U.S. Open at Oak Hill, you, Doug Weaver, Jerry Pate, and Nick Price all made hole-in-ones on the par 3 sixth hole in about a 2-hour span of time. You're now the 4 aces out there. Talk about that.
Well, wow, I have tons of emotions about that. First and foremost is we're in the Hall of Fame for that, so isn't that something? That's just kind of a coup. But I played that morning, and I heard it was an hour and 50 minutes, 4 aces, and I heard the first 2 because it's the 6th hole, and I was on the course. So, and where it's coming from. You know the course, and when the first one happens, you go, "Oh, hole-in-one on 6," because you know where it's, the direction that the cheers are coming from. And So you go, oh, that's cool, and then you play a hole or two or however long it was, and then you hear another roar, and you kind of look at each other like, wow, that sounded like the same spot. It sounds like it's over on 6, but it might be 5. It was second shot over water, and it might be dramatic, but then you kind of hear it through all the gallery and the hole officials on their walkie-talkies going, hey, another hole in one, and yada yada, and we're all kind of going, wow, that's crazy. So I'm playing number 5, and I made a bonehead move, and I hit it in the water on my second shot, and I was very angry at myself. And I made a double bogey, and I walked to the 6th tee, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was really, for me, I was pretty angry with myself because it wasn't golfers, we can tolerate bad breaks and this and that, but when it's a mental error, it's hard because we're the only ones in charge of our mental error. There's no one else we can blame. Inevitably it's us. So I went to that next tee, and I had made a bad mental error, and I was so mad at myself that I didn't even hardly talk to my caddy. He gave me the yardage, and I remember hitting my shot. I hit a great shot, and obviously it went in. I was the 3rd of the 4 aces, and I remember handing Cameron Whittle, my caddy at the time, my 7-iron, and I said, well, that takes care of that double bogey, doesn't it? So I didn't even rejoice at the time that I was one of 3 at the time to make a hole-in-one. I was still so mad at losing 2 shots in the event, the major championship that I'm playing in. All I could think about was, well, I got those 2 shots back. It didn't matter how I got them back. I'm trying to buy in the tournament and be something. And I will also say I wish I had that to do over again because I'd probably rejoice a little bit more in the moment. Maybe not be so hard on myself. But you know what? Hindsight's 20/20. So anyway, yes, I am one of those 4 knuckleheads that made a hole-in-one. It's a great bar bet because you're going to know.
I'm sure it is.
And you're going to know Nick Price, obviously, and then you might know me from, I had won at the time, I had won a couple tournaments. Doug Weaver, no chance you're going to know who that is. So, although I know Doug, obviously, I played many tours with him and stuff, I knew exactly who it was. But as a bar bet, you're not going to come up with that name.
Mark, we're obviously talking a lot about the Masters tonight on the show, and you had an opportunity to play in the tournament a few times. What are some of your favorite memories from playing at Augusta National?
Well, I will tell you, that's the major I played in the fewest times. I only played in 3 Masters, although some people would say only. That's a lot, but when you look at guys that have played years and years and years and years, I'm just a rookie. But I will tell you that the air is so thick with spirit and golf, and that it's hard to take a breath. I'm not making that up. It's a different feeling than I've had anywhere. And I think maybe it's because I watched it on TV my whole childhood. I was nervous at all the majors, the PGA, the U.S. Open, and the British, but never like the Masters. Masters had more of a undefined. I don't know if I was scared, but I was out of my element. I didn't get it. I didn't know why I was feeling like this. And that's what that brought to me. And I will tell you, by the 3rd time I played, I actually felt kind of normal. I think I played my best for a few rounds. I still had that one round that the guys are shooting 65, and I'm thinking, I don't know how to cheat and shoot that low. So I was just trying to, tread water, I guess. I just never had the game. I didn't think, anyway, to play that golf course. And and have a chance to win. And I will say in all the other tournaments I played in, I always felt like, if I played good, I had a chance to be in contention at the end, and I never saw myself at Augusta in the Masters. I never visualized that. I never pictured it. It was hard for me. It's not an easy golf course. I mean, the players now make it look so easy. I mean, watching Dustin Johnson this week, and not just him. Obviously he played better than everyone else, but so many players. It seems like there's 13 is an easy reach it in 2 hole, and all you have to do is this, and that all you have to do part is not as easy as TV makes it look. It just makes it look so automatic. And they all hit good drives on 13 and 15, and they all hit a big drive and hook it on 14 and have a little club in. That's just not true, and it's too bad because we all see the people that are playing the greatest, but Augusta's not easy. Although in watching it this year in November, which is even silly to say, totally a different golf course than the one I watched on TV and the one I played 3 times. Very softer, way slower greens until maybe on late Saturday, and then Sunday I think they had some speed. But flying the ball pin high on 11, with an iron shot and having it down the green, that stuff just didn't happen when I was playing. I don't think it happened for anyone. We all had to kind of make it curve after it hit the ground. We had to make it curve towards the hole so it wouldn't go over or in a bunker or in the water. It was so demanding, and not that it's not demanding now, but it is I really felt like this was a different Augusta. The thing that's so cool about that is you had number 1 still winning it. So it's incredible how that all works out. And what great golf Dustin Johnson played. Unbelievable.
And Mark, to your point, how difficult was it, or how long did it take you to learn, how to hit those greens, where to hit it on those greens, and then how to putt those greens?
Well, that's the deal. I mean, a little bit of that is luck. We all try to hit it below the cup on certain holes, and Augusta has more certain holes than other courses. So, it's imperative if you want to play aggressive to be able to putt uphill if you can, because even those are fast, to do that. But you're also back there in the fairway, hopefully, with an iron shot that you're hoping you can get it, have an uphill putt. You're also hoping to get it on, because it could take a ramp and be off the green and be into a shot you have never practiced. Or if you have, it hasn't been very long. So there's all that's lurking. So as you're over your second shot, that in the back of your mind, what's lurking up there. And it's hard. It's a lot of pressure on each shot. I think in today's golf, there's more, I'm going to go for it. And if I do it right, I'm going to win, and I might win by a lot. And if I don't, oh, well, there's always next week. So I do see a lot more guys playing so aggressive and at the end of their game. And I feel like when I played, I think there was maybe more of, let's see how things go. The first 2 rounds, you're kind of adjusting and organizing your way into the weekend on what for your score, not only just to be in the hunt, but just for your score. And it just is so demanding. And I got to tell you, spiritually, it's a thick air situation. It feels like it's ghostly in a way. Whereas the PGA, the U.S. Open, and the British had that same mystique to it. It just didn't kind of grab you so much. It just they all have their own. Obviously, they all weigh their own amount in the scheme of things, but. I think Augusta because we saw so much of it on TV as a child. I watched it. I watched Tom Weiskopf was my favorite golfer, and I watched Jack beat him so many times, and my life crumbled for a couple days. And anyway, I think that's what brings on that mystique, or whatever that word is that I'm searching for on Augusta. But I have to tell you, isn't it great? Wasn't it great to watch in our COVID times? Wasn't it so cool to see golf, even without a gallery? It was so fun for me.
Indeed.
I thought it was fantastic.
So, Mark, why was Weiskopf your guy?
I'm not sure. I think because he was taller, and I'm 6'3", so I seem to be, as a golfer anyway, one of the taller guys. All through junior golf and even college golf, I was one of the taller guys, and many tours and tour. And so I think I just kind of watched. It was at the time that Jack was the guy, and I watched this guy, Tom Weiskopf, that was taller, and he had this swing that was mesmerizing and looked like it was so efficient, and he could never hit a bad shot, heaven forbid. And he just carried himself in a way that was there was something about him. The funny thing is, years go by, so I'm a Weiskopf guy. Years go by, and I'm playing with his little brother, Dan, in a college tournament. And Tom came out to watch his little brother, Dan, who I'm playing with. And then I walked with Tom Weiskopf in a college tournament for, I don't know, the last 5 or 6 holes. I just asked him questions, and all of a sudden, the college tournament meant zero to me. Although it meant a lot. I was so kept telling myself, I'm walking with Tom Weiskopf. I'm asking him questions, and he's answering. I think I called my dad that night. Said, hey, guess what I did today? No big deal, but guess what I did? So times like that are priceless, aren't they?
Indeed. And Mark, you have a special connection to another golf course that's hosted major championship, Cherry Hills Country Club there in your home state of Colorado. And as I was going back, like I said, doing research on you, going back to the PGA Championship that was held there in 1985, you're playing in a major, you're playing in a golf tournament, and then afterwards you're getting in the car looking for a house to buy there. Talk about your decision that you wanted to live there.
Well, we had my wife's sister and her husband and 2 small kids were living there at the time, and my wife's uncle and aunt were living in Colorado Springs. So here I am, a Southern California boy, and Kathy and I are trying to figure out a place we might like to live, and we had some family there and loved Colorado. All you have to do is go there and realize how much you love it. And so we said, you know what, the PGA's here. Let's use this time to look for a house. And, as fate would have it, that was our first place we bought. I think after we were married, we bought a little townhome in Colorado, in Denver, outside of Denver, in Highlands Ranch. And that was the first part of 30 years living in Colorado. So it all started with getting into the PGA. Now, if I don't play in the PGA, do we end up living there? Who knows? But I do remember, and then I ended up becoming a member at Cherry Hills, which actually adds to the irony of the whole thing. It's one of those, I knew the right guy, and he sponsored me, and I got into Cherry Hills and was a member there for 30 years, and absolutely one of the greatest times of not just my life, but our family's life. Our kids grew up, playing golf and swimming and being on the diving team, the swimming team, the tennis team, the golf team, and doing it all right there at Cherry Hills. It was a great time for my wife and I to raise our kids, and some precious memories for us.
Mark, that same year of 1985, you get your first PGA Tour victory at the Anheuser-Busch Classic. I'm curious, were you prepared for what it was going to be like? Did it change your life a lot when you became a winner on tour? Were you prepared for that?
Well, I was not prepared. I didn't know. I just knew that I was pretty good, and I knew I could win. And, my wife and I had just gotten married in '84, so we were, embarking on a new adventure here, and so I knew that I was a good golfer. That's what I knew, and we just went out and back in the day, it sounds like I'm such a geezer, but I mean it was so back in the day. A couple examples, for instance, through our having kids and stuff, we actually took 13 pieces of luggage on a plane at one time. Can you imagine nowadays doing something like that? I know it. So, but to answer your question, no, I don't know if you're ever prepared. I think maybe some guys are that expect to win. I just never expected to win. I always thought I was good enough to win. I worked pretty hard, and I'm a pretty good golfer, but, so is everyone else. So, you need the stars to line up a little bit, and you need to have a nice week of luck, and you need to be on the ball, and you have to be, your biorhythms have to be on, and you have to be mentally prepared, and all the cliche things that go along with it. But I don't think I was ever ready. And then all of a sudden, that's the weird thing about golf is whether you're ready or not, when that last putt sinks by somebody, it's over. So you go from a 4 or 5 hour period of, or more, because you're on the range too, maybe a 6 or 7 hour intense mental grind. And then when it ends with a putt, either your putt or somebody else's putt, but it's over. And so I don't know if you prepared. I mean, I never prepared myself for the victory speech or what I was going to say or what I was going to feel. I just wanted to play, and then all of a sudden it happened. And one of my favorite things to say in life is when you least expect it, things happen. When you expect it, it doesn't seem to happen, but when you least expect it is when it shows itself. And I think in that point, if I remember right, I had missed 5 cuts in a row, but I really liked my game, and it was like my wife is going, "You sure you like it?" Sure, it's good because you keep missing the cuts here, and I'm like the same. I'm going, I feel pretty good, but and then all of a sudden, it's like I said, that it's not just the stars align. You just become into that place, and if you're comfortable in that place, then great. And I found that I was comfortable in. I found more fun in being in the hunt than out of the hunt, and I think during that week of my first win, I think I realized I really like this. I like that feeling. It drives me, gives me a tickle that I've been looking for. So it wasn't just the win, it was being in the hunt and then being able to close the door on it, obviously, is unbelievable. But yeah. I hope that answers that.
Yeah, it does. So let's fast forward a year, because you win again the following year at the Hardee's Golf Classic. So did that validate for you and for everybody else, for that matter, that was playing out on tour, that previous win, it wasn't a fluke, and you belonged at the, not only on tour, but you belonged amongst the guys that could win week in or week out at that point?
Yeah, without a doubt, Chris. I will tell you, and I don't mean to belittle or anything on my Anheuser-Busch Classic. That was an incredible win. I will never forget my first win. It was unbelievable. But I will tell you, to me, the second win validates the first win a little bit more. And as a player, I don't think we ever think we're lucky. But as a player, you kind of are saying, even if you thought it was lucky the first time, well, I did it again, so am I lucky again? So you're kind of pounding your chest a little bit, I guess, and saying, I am here. I am here, and I am here to stay. So anybody that thought I was lucky the first time, yeah, well, I'm back again. That's what I felt. I don't know if everybody felt that way, but I really did feel like the second win on tour validated so much in my mind that I wasn't just a lucky winner, I was a multiple winner. And that changed my life quite a bit.
And after that Hardy's Classic, the Buick Open was the next tournament the following week. But you decided to go back to your home state and play in the Colorado Open instead. And I read it might not have been a popular decision amongst everybody not to go to the next, event on tour, to go back to Colorado. Talk about why you decided to go play there instead of going on to the Buick Open.
Well, that's such a nice question, Bud. I live in Colorado at the time. I had committed to the Colorado Open. I had just won a tour event. It's a big deal for me to go play in the Colorado Open, and I knew that. Sure, it would have been a great idea for me to go on and maybe win another tour event. But I had made a commitment to my home state of their Open, and I talked about it with my wife. I talked about it with my agent, and it was unanimous. There's one thing to do here, and that is to come home, play in the Colorado Open, honor my commitment, and answer every question everyone has to ask, and do everything I can to make that Colorado Open more special than the others. So it was, I gave a lot of thought to that because, selfishly you're going, well, shit, I got stuff going on here. I want to go play, and I want to continue and extend my streak and stuff. There's times that you just need to do the right thing. And that was the right thing to do, for sure. And who would have thought it? But I won. So it really, and then I gave half my check to Craig Hospital. So it became what a great decision, as it turns out. Again, hindsight. It turned out to be a great decision in our community, and for the tournament, and for Craig Hospital. So it was an awesome time.
Take that a half a step further, Mark. Talk about Craig Hospital and your special attachment to it.
Well, you know what? When we moved to Colorado, you're always trying to get involved in the community, and I'm not a big boisterous guy that says, "Hey," and blows the horns and everything. Look at me, what I'm doing here. We just did things in a subtle way, and that's my wife and I. That's the way we roll. So, in fact, I couldn't believe the money. For one thing, I was so young, and in looking back, I couldn't believe the money you could make for certain foundations and or charities through playing golf. I just couldn't get over it, and to be able to honor Craig Hospital in a way that they were one of the sponsors of the golf tournament, and listen, being a resident and part of the community made a big difference to Kathy and I. We just wanted to be involved. So it turned out to be we just were honored, and when I did it, I won the tournament and I did all the fanfare and all the stuff you do after, and then I actually went in, I don't know, an hour or so after the event, went into the tournament trailer and told them what I'd like to do, and they couldn't believe it. And there was no media around because they had all left, and I said, "This isn't about the media. This is just about helping." So,
Mark,
it was a special time for sure.
Mark, one more before I let you go, and I want to get a playing lesson from you because you're such a wonderful instructor of the game now. And for those of us that are struggling with short range putts, maybe we've got the yips, whatever it might be, talk about what we can do in order to make more of those, 4 or 5 footers, those sort of knee knockers that we need to make. How can we shave some strokes off our scores by thinking more of those putts?
Well, we all know that it comes down to that, right? That's how golf is. It comes down to that little knee knocker, no matter how long it is. Some people are good at 2 feet and they're bad at 3 feet. Some people don't like 4 footers. Some people don't like 8 footers. Whatever your case is, there's just there's some mental preparation that goes into this. Nothing is easy, but I'm 63 now. I have hit. I don't even know how many putts. I love putting. I'm a great putter, and I love that part of the game. I love that I can save myself always. So if I can get the ball around the course and keep it inbounds and out of the water, I'm probably going to have a pretty good round because I can chip and putt. So my mind was always on, if I get it to a certain point, I know how to execute. And I think people, because of watching TV, they put so much emphasis on putts and what they mean. And I had a coach of mine who's a dear friend of mine, Tommy Sanderson, who, when I was a youngster, said, "Why'd you take that much time on that putt on 4 than you did on 5?" And I said, "Well, I really wanted to make it on 4." And he said, "Don't you really want to make them all?" And that stuck with me pretty hard. And he's right. I want to make them all. So I treat every putt. I don't put a value on putts. I don't say that this is for a bogey or a birdie or an eagle or a double or a 10 or whatever. It's just this putt. And if we boil it down to, let's just say it's a 6-foot putt, and don't you want to make all of your 6-foot putts regardless of what they mean at the end? Doesn't matter what they're for. I just want to make that 6-footer. So I became entrenched in this idea of making these 6-footers, and I can promise you, in all of my tournaments I played, never was I over a putt thinking what it was for. Ever. I always thought, I want to make this putt because I'm a good putter. And this is a 6-foot putt. It's an 8-foot putt. It's a 4-foot putt. Whatever. I'm a good putter. I don't ever want to miss this. And I don't care what it's for. I may have hit 5 balls out of bounds and it's for a 13. I still want to make that putt at the end. So I think in all the pro-ams I've played, as you know, Chris, for years and years and years and years in pro-ams, I do see amateurs put value on the end. And I'm like, yeah, the value is I want to make this. I don't care what it gives me. I want to make it regardless what it gives me, because I want people to say, great putt. It doesn't matter what it was for. It was a great putt. So I'm hoping that answers your question.
It absolutely does. Mark, before I let you go, like I mentioned, you're a wonderful instructor now, and you're out in Scottsdale, Arizona. For people anywhere near there that would love to come and get a lesson from you, talk about how they can do it.
Well, the best way is to go to my website, because that has all my information on it, and that is markwiebegolf.com. Thank you, Chris, for that. You can get my website. I think even my phone number's on there. So if you have any questions, I'm teaching here in the Valley. Love it. I do not have one place yet that I'm teaching. I'm looking for that. So if that were to come about, that would be fantastic. I've done a couple clinics and a couple private outings here in the Valley, and love what I'm doing. I love sharing the things I've learned over the years. And I don't have a method to my madness. I just feel like I could make you shoot a lower score. And That's kind of my catchphrase. If you want to get better, come and see me. I can make you better.
Well, Mark, you coming and being a part of this show now 9 times has made this show better. So I know you can make people's golf games better. I can't thank you enough for your friendship and your support. You are just one of the absolute gems on this planet. I can't thank you enough for coming back and being a part of the show again tonight. And I'm already looking forward to show number 10.
You're awesome, Chris. I just enjoy being with you, and you ask great questions, and I love the conversation. So thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Mark, stay safe out there, my friend. All the best to you and your family. Look forward to catching up again soon. See you, Mark.
All right, bud.
That's the great Mark Wiebe. So, folks, and Wiebe is the spelling of his last name. So, markwiebegolf.com is his website. You're anywhere near Scottsdale, you want to take your game to the next level, go see a major champion and let him work on your game, because he's going to get you there. Absolutely. What a fantastic individual Mark is, and a great player and an even greater teacher. So you've got it all there, right? Total package. Great guy, great teacher, great player. He's going to help you out. So looking forward to catching up with Mark again, hopefully real soon. All right, my friends, it is time for us to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to Olin Browne, Matthew Laurance, and Mark Wiebe for joining me. Please check out our website, nextonthetee.net, to keep up to date with what our guest schedule looks like. And we are down to our final show of 2020, and that's going to be next week. And we're going to go out in style now by being joined by our resident director of instruction, Tom Patry. Of course, we're going to go out with TP. Former tour player Nick O'Hearn will be back on the show, as will former NHL star and celebrity tour champion Dan Quinn. Dan, a great friend of the show, former Penguin, played for a lot of different organizations in the NHL, and then a great golfer, went out on the celebrity tour and won many, many times. So looking forward to having Dan back as part of the show as well. Folks, you can stream this show as a podcast on a number of great sites and apps like Podcast.co, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audio Boom, Player.fm, Radio.com. We're on Amazon Music now. So if you've got a favorite podcasting site, we're likely on it. Just do a search for Next on the Tee. And folks, as always, I can't thank you enough for choosing to listen to this show tonight. We really appreciate the fact that you are continuing to make us a part of your golfing content. Until next week, my friends, hit 'em straight.